Hello, Saline. This is Talk of the Town, Saline High School's official podcast. I'm your host, Evan Aeschliman, here with Saline Area Schools Principal of Operations, Mr. David Raft. Today we are discussing Mr. Raft's new role in Saline Area Schools. Now let's talk local. All right, Mr. Raft, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Evan. I love it.
So starting with your background, 23 years as a building principal in Saline Area Schools.
Yeah.
So you've been around for a long time?
I've been around for a little while. I started off teaching marketing and business in Indiana, and then I came back. I had a chance to come back and moved back here in 1996 to teach marketing and business. And then a few years later, assistant principal job came open and went to Heritage.
Awesome.
Then I got to be part of the bond of 2000 where we built Harvest Elementary, became the principal at Harvest. Then moved to Woodland Meadows for a short time, and then went right to the middle school for 8.5 years, and then came to the high school for 5.5. So my career's kind of taken me in different directions, but it's been enjoyable because I've seen a lot of the aspects from basically kindergarten through your senior year.
Awesome. So, now your principal of operations has kind of shifted a little bit from your last principal position. What were some of your favorite aspects of your last principal job working here at the high school for the last couple of years?
It's one thing, basically the connections with the students, making those connections that, they go on. I still have, connections with them outside of school, students that have graduated, I see them later, and then just the fact that, this is probably my favorite age group to work with, and that's kind of why, when I taught and coached and everything, it was just the bond you make with the students.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, you've been in the district for a long time. What do you really think differentiates Saline from the rest of the districts around us, from your perspective?
I want to say that the families and community are so supportive of the schools. I think the fact that we feed into one high school has always been a plus, I think, because we do all come together at some point, and so we start in Saline Area Schools, but we exit together across that stage, and we're all one. And then and that's not to take away from the bigger districts that have 3 or 4 high schools or whatever. I just find that's something very special, and I think our community really does do a great job of supporting us. I know there's some situations, in the last few years that have divided us a little bit in some areas, but to be completely honest, the majority of our community is very supportive and very supportive of what Saline Area Schools is doing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, we've dealt with COVID for the last couple of years. Yeah. And speaking of COVID, it's kind of thrown us for a loop. Things are changing around us all the time. Have you seen anything like this in your education career so far? No,
this was, an area that it was very challenging for our students, for our families, for our teachers, for our staff in general. It caught us. I really felt I felt in Saline we kind of been always doing the next gen kind of get prepared, so we thought we were kind of this would be something we'd be really ready for, but until you lived it you didn't find that. We have some people that were very skilled. We learned a lot as a whole team, and we continue to learn. I feel we're in a better position if this is something we'd ever have to face again, but our students were resilient, our staff just worked tirelessly to make sure they were helping and supporting our students, and it was that's hard to see when students are at home. It's hard to be a virtual learner. Some love it, others, but I would say being in front of people and having that interaction face to face has been great. So
it's a world of difference. All right, so we talked about your past as a principal, work throughout the district. Let's talk a little bit about your new role as principal of operations. So if you could expand on that title a little bit, that would be great.
When Dr. Lotch and I had a conversation about it, it's more of a support piece for all the buildings in the role of being able to get in all the buildings, help support the administrators and staff that are there. Also, it's a chance for me to I oversee the athletic department and getting part of those things, and I have a big part in the bond and the next phase of this. We have a last phase of Series 3 for the bond of 2015, which I helped out with in 2015. And then I get a chance to help do a renewal that will help us bring us into a further future going forward for the next 10, 15 years.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Which is exciting for me because that's an area that I really liked. And I live in the community, so I want to make sure I see things when I drive by the schools and what's going on, that we're doing what we need to be doing.
So speaking of the bond, the new bond, the timeline, what are some of the things we're looking at as students and maybe people throughout the community? What are some of the big projects that
Well, we're starting for just to go back to 2015. That was a bond that we really pushed. We talked dry, safe, warm, because our buildings were getting older.
Sure.
We're trying. I mean, our youngest building is this one right here, and it's 20 years old. So, and we really felt we needed to get back into the brick and mortar, trying to make sure we invest in our future.
Sure.
This next one will have a little bit more of adding some enhancements to what we are looking for. Like, one of the things I know is very strongly it talked about is our STEAM centers, that we have spaces, but we don't have up-to-date, top-notch STEAM centers around our district, and we have a big STEAM program. We also are talking about potentially, the word that keeps coming up that a lot of people are talking about, I've heard, is a potential field house that could honor a lot of different realms, not just people think athletics. We're talking about our arts, our marching band, our music programs, our STEAM programs. It's just such a multiple use for our community in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people drive off to go places, and to have one here, and Brighton's doing one right now. Lincoln has one that's pretty state of the art, but it could actually be something huge for our community to bring a lot of people together.
Sure.
And then a lot of just looking at other pieces that we have technology enhancements and big pieces of that. So we are doing focus groups starting tomorrow night, actually, with our STEAM group. And we're going to be meeting with 13 or 14 focus groups. We're going to be surveying our families and, just trying to get a feel for what they're looking for in this bond renewal. I don't see myself seeing this to the very end, because it's like it'll be over 10 years.
Exactly.
So my investment in time is that I want to make sure it's done right, and that we get what we're supposed to for the students that are coming up and going forward and for our community. Because I live here. Yeah. I've lived here pretty much my entire life, so I want to see all the great things that the schools offer continue to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. So bond, it's going to impact our community in an immediate sense with some of the STEAM projects, and then we're also looking at some of the long-term stuff like the field house and potentially some athletic facilities. So transitioning from that altogether, being a senior, I've been with you for a long time now, almost since sixth grade, I believe. So.
Well, we had you in sixth grade, and then 3.5 years pretty much here. I'm still around.
Yeah, you're around. So, I mean, as far as the bond goes, is there anything you'd like to say, like to students or parents alike? Like, if you wanted somebody to buy in on the bond and support the bond full-heartedly, what's the message you're trying to convey to students and parents?
Well, I think it's part of our responsibility to continue our investment in our education program that we have in our community. People do move here for our schools. The growth, even though I hear sometimes that we're not growing, there's subdivisions coming in left and right, and people are moving here because I've done more tours in 23 years, and the number one reason I hear why they're coming here is because of Saline Area Schools. So we have a good reputation. We have unbelievable facilities, and so I think that's just a big piece of it. We need to continue to invest in for the long haul. This is an opportunity that potentially the renewal would obviously have no tax increase on the renewal piece, and that would be something I think would be exciting or attractive to our community, that we can get a lot for no cost to us. So
yeah, that's great. So graduation's just around the corner. Are you going to be around for graduation?
I'm going to be sitting on the stage with everybody as well, helping hand out diplomas. Yes.
Awesome.
I feel I owe that I owe it for myself to the seniors, because I had that connection for so many years. So I will be there helping pass out the diplomas, and I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
Especially after the last few years we've all had.
Yeah, it's been a crazy few years.
No question.
All right. Well, check out Talk of the Town's other episodes when they are published on the Saline Video YouTube channel. I'm your host, Evan Aeschliman.
And I'm David Raft. Thank you for having me, Evan.
Yeah, thanks for joining the podcast. This was great.
This is exciting.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode of Talk the Town was brought to you by Saline Video, with special thanks to our guest David Raft and the Saline High School administration. If you would like to produce an episode of Talk the Town, you can talk to Mr. Bush in room C244 or send him an email. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you soon.